Welcome to the VBAC Homebirth Stories podcast, where we celebrate and share powerful VBAC homebirth stories to inspire and support mamas just like you. I'm your host, Ashley Winning, a VBAC homebirth advocate and mama of 3, and I believe every woman deserves to birth with confidence and trust in her body. In each episode, you'll hear real-life stories, expert insight, and encouragement to help you feel informed and empowered on your VBAC homebirth journey. Let's dive in. Hello and welcome to the podcast. I'm your host, Ashley Winning, and today we have the wonderful Margarite. I'm very excited to have Margarite on today because Margarite and I worked together just before she gave birth, and I'm super excited to be able to listen to your birth story and to hear all of your birth stories all over again and just connect with you today. Welcome to the podcast, Margarite.
Thank you, Ashley. Thanks for having me on. I listened to all your podcasts and actually dreamed of hoping that I would have a chance to come on and share some of my birth stories prior to my recent birth.
Yes, and now here you are. You manifested it. I'm so glad that obviously we'll wait till you tell your story, but I'm so glad that you ended up here and that you stuck to your guns and you did what felt intuitively right for you.
Yes, me too. I afterwards, I was so shocked and surprised that I could do it. And, I had listened to pretty much every podcast you have done with other women. And I thought, if they can do it, like, why can't I?
Yeah.
Here we are.
It's like making me teary because the whole reason I started this podcast was so that I could, essentially it was so I could hear other women's stories.
Yep.
Like I started it for other women as well, but I was pregnant myself. And so I was trying to hold on to any goodness, any signs. I was looking for the evidence that I could do this thing, which I already knew I could, but I just wanted to suck every last piece of wisdom and juiciness out of every woman that came before me, because I just thought she was just amazing goddess, and she was achieving this thing that I desperately wanted to do. And 5 years later, you came to me. When you've been doing something for a long time, you tend to work with people at a similar stage and you tend to do similar sort of work. And when you came to me, it was at the very late stages. And majority of women, they say to me that they want to do this thing, right? But they're not really motivated. It's like they come to me and they're like, I would really love to have a VBAC home birth. I really would want to have a home birth, but it's too late. They're not willing to put in the effort and the mindset, and it's just it's too hard now, I'm just going to give up.
Yeah.
And what I'm interested to hear as you tell your stories, I know that you had some challenges at the end there. You didn't have a collective of people supporting you. And I hear this all the time, women will say, well, my husband doesn't support me, my mother-in-law doesn't support me, I'm on my own. And what I loved about you is that you were just, I'm going to do it anyways. I have listened to all these podcasts, and I think one of my friends, Jade, who I've had on the podcast, I think she gifted you her course, and
she did.
We did a session together, and I just, you just never know if someone's going to have the gumption to go through with what they really want to do. And I love that about you. I was just so excited when you messaged me. I knew you were going to do it. I just believed in you. I always believe in my clients and I believe in women. But when you came back to me, I was just so belated. I was so overjoyed, and messaged Jade because we were just we just love women, and we just are so cheering you on in the background. And yeah, I was just so happy for you when you messaged me, and I was like, of course you did. Of course you did. Of course. And that was just F you to the establishment that, Yeah, I just was, so happy. So I'm so excited to have you back, or have you on the podcast and connect with you. I won't hold you up because I really want to hear your stories. So how about you let us know a little bit about you, where you live, how many children you have, anything special that you want to share, any special hidden talents.
Yeah,
anything.
no, that's all right. So I'm actually from South Africa. I moved here in Australia in 2008. I was a teenager. Um, we used to be in Western Australia, for a few years there until we could get our citizenship and our visa sorted, and then we moved to Queensland, to central Queensland. Um, and I met my husband in high school, just as we were both finishing high school, and it was very much love at first sight. We didn't get a chance to get together straight away when we wanted to. He sort of left school and I was still at school. My parents, being South African parents, were extremely strict there. So there was not much of a life to be had outside of going to school and cleaning the house. Anyway, so yeah, after that, we got together. We were together for together for 4 years. Then we got married, and we live out on a rural property, cattle property, about 4 hours west of Rockhampton in central Queensland. So it's I used to have a job, but it was hard. You know, it's an hour's drive to our nearest bigger town. Our local little town has all but a school and a servo, post office and a cafe, that's it. So it's quite a hike. If you're going to have a job, you need a pretty decent paying job to make it worth the travel. So yeah, we sort of just decided from a pretty young age, like I wasn't really going to work too much. I did have a bit of work, and yeah, once we started to have the idea of kids coming up, I was stay-at-home person, becoming a stay-at-home parent. And yeah, that was sort of the introduction into where I am, you know, stepping into my parenthood journey. So yeah, I'm a stay-at-home mama to 5 kiddos. I have a daughter who's nearly 7. My second is a boy. He is 4.5. And then I have got 2 twin boys who are nearly 3. And then my fifth is my recent little bubba. He is 4.5 months old now.
Wow. Twins, 7-year-old, 4.5-year-old, twin 3-year-olds, and a 4.5-month-old.
Yeah,
Uh,
it's a lot.
And you look so well and nourished. How are
Oh,
you, how do you keep it all together?
oh, honestly, some days are great. I feel like I'm in control, and other days are a bit of a write-off. But, you know, you just have to get through it, and there's always tomorrow to try again.
Yeah.
Um, so my parents live about 4 hours from me, and my sister lives about 4 hours from me. I don't get to see them as much as I'd like to. My husband's parents live on the same property as we do, so about 150 metres from us. I used to probably have a bit more support from his mum and sister, you know, when we first started to have children. But again, everyone's lives were different. You know, we all had a lot less to do and less going on. In recent years, they have started to step into other businesses that's taken up a lot of their free time as well. So they haven't really been as available to help out with the kids as you would hope. Being so close by and convenient, you know. I mean, they still do their best to help where they can, but yeah, everyone's just pretty busy now, so you just kind of try and get on with it and make it work however you can.
Yeah. And is your husband home or is he work away?
Not well. He's on and off. We do rural contract work, so he's always gone through phases where he could be away, working away for weeks and months. Obviously not in a row. He would have weekend time, but predominantly he's always coming and going. So yeah, he's not exactly very available or very hands-on. A lot of the time I am single parenting. But yeah, it's just one of those things. Especially with the rural work, it's seasonal, so it can be really busy, where we don't see each other much at all. It's just we come and go. If we're lucky, I might take the kids out to the tractor if he's working in a paddock that's easily accessible, so that we can just quickly say hello, or I might pick up a meal from town, run it out to him and say, here's some food, hello, how are you? Good
Yeah.
luck, goodbye. And once the season's finished, then it winds down a little bit. He'll come home every night after work, and be around again for a while before the next lot kicks up again. So.
That's hard for everyone, isn't it?
Yeah, it is pretty full on. Like, it's definitely not a life for the faint-hearted. Like, you really have to just hone in and stand on your own 2 feet. You can't sit back and wait for someone to come do something for you, or, sometimes it is hard. Sometimes you just have a little pity party for yourself every now and again when it feels a bit challenging. But, you just pull yourself together and get through it. And the best part about it is once you do that, as hard as it was, you look back on that and you think, wow, I did that. I got through it. It was really challenging. It was hard, but I did that. And you become so resilient.
Yeah. You're really in the thick of it at the moment. Like, as somebody whose children are going on 11, 9, and 5, like, my children are very self-sufficient now and quite independent. And, I thought when my children were so young, you just don't realize how quickly they grow and they become independent. And you're just like, every day just seems like that's going to be it. And then all of a sudden they kind of grow up and you're like, you barely see them. Like, I homeschool my kids and they're with me all the time, but they're just so independent now. They don't need me. They don't need me as much. They only come for cuddles now and then. And, they make their own lunch and they can shower themselves and it's like wipe their own bum. And it's like, and then, it gets a little bit sad, honestly. Like, now my kids are like older. I'm like, oh, and you like long for those days again. I suppose that's where the mother-in-laws and that, they're looking back and they're like, they only see the beauty, and that's where you get those comments of like, it was never hard for me and it's a gift and la 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 la, and which is not the mother in the thick of it, really not getting no sleep or anything. So I just wanted to say that to anyone, because I know that, we've got a lot of mums with young children listening, and I just wanted to share that bit of wisdom, because I had my postpartum doula come, for example, and her children are about like 2 years older than my oldest and then 2 years older than my second oldest. So she was about 4 years ahead of me, sort of thing. And I used to say, well, how do you do it? Like, how do you keep on top of the washing? And how do you, I was in my postpartum, she's my postpartum doula, like my best friend. And she's like, my kids can do their own washing now and they do this. And I'm like, what? They put their own washing away? Like, I just couldn't even fathom it, like, because my kids were like 6 and 4 at the time, I couldn't fathom it. And then all of a sudden they like start to grow up, and then it's like, that's your responsibility. You're doing the dishwasher. You're doing like, you're doing the pets. You're doing the chickens. It becomes having to be the person who tells them 100 times to do it, which some easier just to bloody well do it yourself.
Oh yeah, definitely. We are starting to test those waters here. I'm trying to get the older two to step up a little bit and just start to help out with a few things. But the amount of times I have to ask them, and sometimes I think the same thing. I think, wow, it would have been easier if I just did it. But, at the end of the day, I could do absolutely everything. But they do have to eventually learn to take some responsibility and do something.
Yes. And still my almost 11-year-old, I still have to say, like, I don't have to tell her to brush her teeth, but I have to say, do your morning chores, which is brush your teeth, brush your hair, get dressed, do the dishwasher. That's it. But I still have to say it every single morning. And I'm like, but I'm just reminding myself, like, that was my mum every day. Pick up the towel, clean up the blah, 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 turn off the light. I'm like, oh, my parents' nightmare.
Yeah. It's not until you become the parent that you realise, how your parents felt.
No wonder they were on the couch, crashed out at night, like, oh, I can't be bothered come to say good night to that child. Go to
Yeah.
sleep, go to sleep. Oh, but
That's it.
I know. Well, that was a great introduction to get to know you a little bit and just like get a feel for where you are. So let's start off with your first pregnancy, your 7-year-old.
So I will just quickly say prior to that, I actually had two miscarriages were my first two pregnancies. And just something I forgot in my intro was really actually, I grew up in a family that was very abiding by the medical system. The medical system was the figure of authority. Whatever a doctor tells you, they're the person who knows. Like, you don't know nothing about yourself. The doctor knows best. They have your best interest at heart. You listen to them. If they give you medicine, you drink the medicine, that kind of thing. Like, my
Yeah.
parents were very much like that. So that's how we grew up. And as a young adult, I was still pretty influenced by the medical system, go to the doctor for everything, just do what society does. So my first pregnancy was in October 2017. My husband and I decided let's try to have a baby, let's try to start a family. And I never really gave it too much thought. Like, I wasn't on contraception as such, like the pill and that sort of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, we just sort of got straight into it. I was lucky enough to conceive the very first cycle. Obviously, really excited. Like, first pregnancy, both of us, we are very much people persons, family-orientated people, that sort of thing. So we were just elated. And, make the first doctor's appointment. We get the bloods done. All good. I was about 5 weeks and I was thinking, oh, it's funny. Like, I actually feel really good, Like, I don't feel, everyone's like, oh, you get the motion, morning sickness, this, that, feel good, blah, blah, blah. But I had nothing. And I just felt normal and I felt fabulous. And I was like, oh, maybe it's great. Like, I'll have an easy pregnancy, 6 weeks on the dot, and I started to get spotting and bleeding. And I was like, oh, no, obviously this is not right. So naturally I was really concerned. Made the doctor's appointment, doctor says, oh, yes, let's run some more blood. Did the blood, results came back. The HCG was dropping. Looks like it will be a miscarriage. Just go with it, wait for it all to pass, keep an eye on what's coming out. When everything's over, then we'll do another round of blood, make sure everything's back to zero before you can try again. But it shouldn't be a problem. It's a very common thing. It is what it is. So off you go, see me in, whenever it's all over, and we'll check the bloods and we'll be good to go. It won't happen again, It's happened now. It's good. Most people go on to have another baby and it's fine. Mm. Okay, so off we go, do that thing. Time passes, next cycle comes along. We're like, okay, well, we were obviously devastated. But righto, let's try again. In the meantime, I had spoken to my sister, about my first miscarriage, and she actually had a friend who also had recurrent miscarriages at 6 weeks on the dot, couple times, 3 times. And she went and saw a specialist. So I was just dealing with the general practitioner. She went and saw a specialist. Specialist actually said to her she's got issues with her progesterone. and put her on progesterone support. And she went on to have a few beautiful children. And I thought, I remember that story, and I was like, oh, okay, that's like, I'm so happy for her that she figured out what was wrong, and she could have her baby. And then my second pregnancy came. I was anxious at this point, being that I've had that first loss already, and 6 weeks on the dot, I again started bleeding, spotting and then into bleeding. But then obviously I was pretty devastated because I'm thinking, why is this happening? Like twice in a row, it seems to be now exactly the same time, 6 weeks on the dot. And this stage I already knew about my sister's friend, and I said to the GP, look, I want you to test my progesterone. I just want to know. I know it's obviously not going to fix things now, but I want the progesterone tested. I just want to know what it is. By this stage, I hadn't actively bled yet. I was just starting to get into that. And, the results came back. It was pretty low. It was like 15 or something. But regardless of that, I had sort of said to him, well, I feel that, the progesterone is a pretty big part in the pregnancy. And he sort of just wrote me off. No. Like, what would you know? Progesterone's nothing. It means nothing. It doesn't determine your pregnancy. No, it's not. Just get through this. Like, my daughter had a miscarriage and, she went on to have her kids. Like, all good. Go home. Wait it out. Try again. And at this stage, my HCG was fluctuating a lot, up and down, up and down. They decided they couldn't find anything on ultrasound, like location of the pregnancy. They decided to then treat me with the methotrexate because they were concerned, like, if I can't find it, what if it's in the tube, with the HCG fluctuating. It could possibly be ectopic, but just to be sure, let's just do the methotrexate. That'll sort things out. No worries. Me being so oblivious to, everything around me, I just went along with it. I was like, okay, this is what they say I need to do. I was gutted. I had so much hope that every time the HCG is trying to come back up, like maybe, just maybe, things will, work out. And obviously, you jump on Google like you do, and you try and read other people's stories and experiences, and, is there any hope that maybe, just maybe, it'll work out for me this time? Anyway, no. We got through that. It was what it was. But then I said, I'm not doing this a third time to then be eligible to get a referral to go to the specialist. Why should I do this again? It's gut-wrenching. It's heartbreaking. You're trying to step into parenthood and you feel already so unsupported. What would it hurt for me to go and see the OBGYN? Like, what does that do for the GP? All he has to do is give me a referral. Like, why should I have to wait until I've had 3 losses to go and see him? Why can't I go now? So I fought for that. I said to him, you're going to give me a referral. I'm not leaving here till you give me that referral, because I'm not doing this again. I don't care what you say. Yeah, sure, next time might be different. Maybe it might not be. I don't know, but I will be seeing the specialist. So he gave me the referral. And, mind you, my second miscarriage was just started after Boxing Day too. So that was pretty disappointing. And anyway, we carried on. My third pregnancy, which is my now daughter, I fell pregnant with her in March 2017, thereabouts. And at the time, I wanted to get in to see a different OBGYN. There was a couple that I had good recommendations from family members, but I couldn't get into them soon enough. I ended up getting pregnant And I was desperate. I'm like, I just need to see anyone right now, whoever I can get into. So I saw this doctor. He was an Indian doctor, and it was a little bit hard to understand, but I just went with it. And I said to him, look, I'm pregnant. This is my concern. 6 weeks on the dot, I start bleeding. And I'm concerned about my progesterone levels, but obviously you're the specialist, you deal with it, like, you know. So he said, yep. He said, let's do the bloods. If the HCG doubles every 2 days, then I'm happy it's a viable pregnancy. If the progesterone is low, I will give you support for the progesterone, and we'll go from there. And I said, okay, great. That's what I'm here for. Let's do that. So, yep, the HCG was doubling, looked like it was going to be a viable pregnancy. This is during week 5. He gives me some progesterone support. My progesterone was sitting at about 40, whatever unit they measure that in. And I start taking that, and sure enough, I end up getting some spotting and some bleeding. So now I'm, extremely anxious, because this is now the 3rd time I've even gotten this medication that's supposed to try and help me. But he was great. He said, look, let's do a scan to see what we can see. Went to the scan. There's this tiny little baby with a flickering little heartbeat, and beautiful, just perfect. I was so shocked I couldn't believe it, because I'm bleeding. And so he said, look, I don't know why this is happening, but we just need to roll with it for now. Like, the bloods are fine. The scan is showing everything's okay. Sometimes this happens. That's it, okay. So, and it's on and off. I can go a couple of days and I'm bleeding. I can go a couple of days and it's gone away. And I think, okay, hopefully it's finished. It's over. It's, I continue with the medication for the first trimester. We get through it. And then the bleeding comes back, and then it's heavier, and then it's lighter. And it was just messy. It was all over the place. I couldn't figure out what's happening. I was, okay, every day is what it is. One day at a time. If I bleed, but I'm not seeing anything more than just a bit of bleeding, we go to the next scan. He said, let's do regular scans, go to the scan. Baby's there, baby's growing, everything looks fine on the scan, so we carry on. I get to about 12, 13 weeks, finish the medication. At that stage, I was still having a bleed, and I was very, very anxious to get off the medication because, so far I had made it work. We got through it in terms of taking the medication and just taking it day by day, but now I'm bleeding and I'm stopping the medication, and I'm so, so scared. But that's what they say to do, so I just do what they said and go to the next scan. Was my 12-week scan. I had it 13 weeks or so. Baby's there, beautiful, healthy, growing. Everything looks normal. And I was like, okay. And, we carry on. And finally, one day the bleeding stopped, and it just stopped. And that was a relieving sign. And yeah, we just kept on going week by week through the pregnancy. The rest of my pregnancy was perfectly fine, not a issue in the world, no health concerns, nothing. Did all the tests and things that they wanted to do, those sugar tests and whatever else that they routinely do during pregnancy. I remember my mum saying to me, oh, so you're going to have a C-section, you're going to book that in prior to your due date. And I was like, no, why would you ask me that? And I must say, my mum had 2 sections with my sister and I. And funnily enough, during her time in South Africa, the doctor just automatically said to her, oh, you are never going to have a natural birth. Your pelvis is too small. Don't even bother attempting that. That's never going to work. It's just straight to the C-section. Book it in, 38 weeks, she's done. Happy days. And so she did that. Right? The doctor said, that's what she did. So, yeah, she automatically just assumed I would do the same. Like, if she had that issue, like, my sister and I would both have that issue too. So there's no need to discuss that. Book the section in. That's, happy days. And as soon as she said that to me, I felt quite offended straight away, actually, because I thought, well, I'm not you. And I'd like to at least have a chance to try to see, what happens before I just jump in the deep end like that. But anyway, we carried on, and I kind of just, towards the end of my pregnancy, I just didn't really go into too much detail with her, with everything. Anyway, my husband was working away at the time, towards the end of my pregnancy. So my BMI was actually a little bit too high for our local little low-risk hospital. That's an hour from where we live. So they said, we need you to go to Rockhampton. They're better equipped to take on the higher risk for the higher BMI. And I said, okay, right. So lucky enough that my husband's parents had a townhouse in Rockhampton. So we did have somewhere to stay. We actually celebrated his dad's 50th birthday there. That's mostly where his family is. And he was so torn. Like, we celebrated his birthday that weekend, and my husband was due to go back out to work for another week, about 2-3 hours away. And he said, I just don't know. Like, we need to get this job done, but I feel torn. Like, do you think I should stay in case you start to have a baby soon? I was just about 38 and a half weeks. And, he was so concerned. He was nearly in tears because he's now so torn. Like, the job is, they pride themselves so much on the work they do. And they always make it happen for people, right or wrong, they'll make it happen. But a lot of sacrifices, obviously. So, and I said, I understand, but I really would like you to stay. It would be nice to at least have a day or two together before we have a baby, just to wind down a little. Like, it's all systems go all the time. So he ended up staying. He felt guilty, but we had a lovely day. We actually went to the beach, took a few photos and stuff because I didn't pay for maternity photos. So he just took a few photos for us at the beach. It was lovely. And, 2 days later, my waters, I thought that I had leaking waters, but I wasn't sure. Like, it wasn't enough to make me certain. Like, every now and again, I may get wet undies, and I'm like, I'm so sure I'm not weeing myself right now. Like, I have just done a wee. Like, I cannot be weeing myself. I've just gone. Like, but it's not a lot. Like, it's not like a gush or a trickle even. And first time actually full-on pregnancy. So we sort of left it, just carried on and did that for about a day. And that night after we got back from taking photos, I said to him, look, I don't know, like, this is happening. I just don't really know what to do. Maybe I'll just ring the hospital. I'll ring maternity and just ask them about it. So I ring them up and she said, look, honestly, just come in. We can just test it here and, we can test the fluids. It will tell us if it's membrane or not, like ruptured membrane or not. And I said, okay, righto, let's do that. She said, just bring your bag in case, we can always send you home. And so we did that, packed it all up, off we go, get to the hospital. It was about 7:30 at night. They sort of stick us in a room and said, just wait here. We wait in there. She comes by to test the fluids relatively soon after we got there. Just before she went to test it, my waters just broke, completely broke. I was laying on the bed and I'm like, oh my goodness, I'm just laying in a pool of water. It's saturated. I did not wing myself. This is definitely broken waters. And she's like, oh gosh, that is, I'm so sure that is your water's breaking. I will test it just to be sure, but I'm pretty certain she's it. And I was like, okay, like 39 weeks now, you know, cool, right, this is happening. I didn't do any birth preparation. Yeah, honestly, I didn't do any birth prep prior to that. I did not do birthing classes. I did not do a course. I did not even do a hospital tour. I did nothing. So I was, you know, okay, this is great. They said, oh, look, we need to wait until shift change because they'll want to do an induction. The shift changeover was going to be at 12 o'clock midnight. They said, so you need to wait until then. Like, because the water was ruptured, they were worried about infection. Prior to that, you know, they said, oh, we're worried. We just want to treat you with antibiotics anyway, and we want to start the drip straight away because we just in case of infection, in case you may have had leaking membrane, you know, those prior 2 days. And I was like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, like they know best. They've got my best interest at heart. They're just trying to look out for me and my baby. So, yeah, righto, wait until 12 o'clock, shift change. They come in with the drip. They said to me prior to that on the monitors, oh, are you having any contractions? I said, no, I don't feel anything. Everything feels normal. I don't feel anything. The monitors apparently showing some contractions, but I couldn't feel them. And I still remember the old nurse who comes along to put the cannula in my hand, I should say. She comes along, you know, oh, yep, and she's putting it in. I have had cannulas in the past, and I'm not really a person who freaks out with needles or bloods and, you know, that sort of stuff. But she put that cannula in my arm. I'm thinking, wow, like, since when does it hurt so much? Like, I've had them in before and it's never hurt this much, but it was really, really painful. And like, okay. I just didn't say anything, you know, I just sort of put my teeth together and got through it. They pumped antibiotics into me, like a massive big syringe just in through the cannula. And I'm thinking, holy, it is stinging so much when she's putting it in. Like, my hand is on fire. But anyway, they know what they're doing. They're, you know, just get over it. And she gets that done. They start getting everything else sorted. And said to my husband, my hand is on fire. It's killing me. Something's wrong with my hand. And I look at my hand, and my hand was just swelling and swelling and swelling. Worse and worse than it. It was so huge. It was so stiff. And we said to another nurse, like, what's the go with my hand? Like, something is wrong. Something's not right. And they're like, oh, gosh. The nurse didn't put the cannula into my veins. It was just into the flesh. So she must have poked it through the vein or something. I don't know. But they were just pumping whatever they're pumping into me straight into my hand. So they needed to readjust that. And already I felt like we were off to a bad start. Anyway, we're just...
You know, it's like, I feel like that's quite common. I had that experience myself, and you would think that part of the process would be to just like check it as it's going on, like just make sure that everything's going okay, or say to the person, if it hurts, like, you know, if there's anything, let me know. Just to double check.
Yeah, definitely. Like, you know, and like I said, I'm no stranger to blood tests or cannulas or whatever. Like, I don't know that they sting a little bit, but that was next level. And
Yeah.
that's, guess that's normal. I don't know. But
Yeah.
anyway, did that. They started the Pitocin drip, and me being a first timer, I was like, okay, cool. Like my sister-in-law, 6 months prior, had her first baby. She also got induced with the trip. It was, she said it was very intense. She, had her natural delivery, and yeah, it was just a lot. No, okay, other people have done this. This is just, same as everyone else. Like, we're just going with it. They want to obviously monitor a baby's heart rate and everything. So they hooked me up to wireless monitors so that I could, still move around a little bit, but they kept losing connection. And they said, okay, well, we're losing connection here. We need to hook you up to the monitors on the bed, so wired monitors. So lay on the bed, hook you up. They were working for a fair while, but obviously I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't do anything. I just laid there. And then they bumping the drip up, and it was full on. It was very full on. Funnily enough, I remember so clearly never feeling a contraction as such, never feeling a contraction in my belly as such. Like, all I could feel was just my vagina was so sore. It just felt like it was getting taken to with a sledgehammer. That's what I had going on. I never had that on and off contraction waves and pain. Like, it was just solely on my vagina. And I thought, this is so weird. Like, I didn't think this was how it was meant to be. But anyway, I was in so much pain. I couldn't move. I couldn't do anything to try to help myself. I laid there on the bed. I shut my eyes so tight, and I just moaned and groaned. And my husband, he didn't know what to do. He was standing there holding my hand, just, like, what do I do? And we progressed, and eventually it was a lot. I said, look, if I'm going to be stuck here on this bed, not being able to move at all, you need to give me some pain relief. I didn't want to do an epidural. I didn't want to do any of that stuff. That's one thing I was clear on prior to going in and dealing with any of this. But, push come to shove, in the thick of it, I was like, I can't do this anymore. They gave me morphine. They gave me a bunch of other. Oh, they tried to give me gas. I sucked on the gas. That made me so nauseous. I was vomiting everywhere. I said, no, take this away. I cannot have this. Like, it's making me too sick. Morphine, no good. Didn't do anything. Right, epidural. That's all that's left. Okay, get the anaesthetist in. Let's get the show on the road. He comes in. I sit still, let him do his thing. He walks out. Time's passing. Nothing. Not doing anything. Hours go by. He's like, I said, I don't know. This is not doing anything. Like, it feels the same as before. It's not helping. So they said, okay, let's get a different anaesthetist in. Let's try it again. So they tried again. This time it worked a bit better. One side worked well. The other side it was still not, but yeah, I could feel one side of my body was feeling a bit better than the other side. And we managed. We just sort of carried on through it. They said to me, oh, we're losing connection with these monitors. Like, these monitors are just no good as babies, doing her thing. Like, do you mind if we put the clip on her head, the wireless clip on her head? And I was like, okay, like, if that's what you need to do, that's fine, you do that. They're like, yeah, it's wireless, it's just sort of put back the top to the head. And I'm thinking, oh, like, it's wireless? Are you kidding me? Like, wireless? So this whole time, I could have opted for that option so that I could have still moved around and done what I needed to. Yet here I am laying on this bed now with an epidural that I didn't particularly want. I can't necessarily get off the bed and do what I want to do. And you're only offering this option now. I was so gutted. Like, I just couldn't believe it. So, you know, they did what we had to do. Time passed, and I was progressing. Like, I would check, you know, every a couple of hours I would check, keeping on progressing. And I was 9 centimetres. And they said to me, okay, look, she is asymptotical, so, you know, coming out sideways a bit. You can feel the ear, and the left maybe for a little bit. And eventually they said, oh, look, things are not really great. Like, yes, you are progressing, you're 9 centimetres, but baby's starting to get distressed. We have sort of left it as long as we think is appropriate to leave it, but we really need to consider C-section now because, she's just too distressed now. And funnily enough, like, you know, I had my eyes shut that whole time. I was just sort of clenched up on the bed. I was just not with it. Like, was not with it at all. And so they said that, and I was sort of gutted. And they were just sort of getting themselves ready, you know, finding all the paperwork that needs to be signed and whatever else. And I sort of went through a phase where I sprung up. I just sprung up, and I was feeling different. Like, and I really, like, knowing what I know now, I think I was in transition, but I didn't know that. Like, I just sprung up, and I wanted to sort of yell out, like, no, something's different. Like, something feels different now. I want to keep going, but, you know, they made such a big deal about the fact that baby's getting distressed, and, you know, we need to move quickly. So I sort of just kept my mouth shut and just, you know, carried on. So they rolled us into theatre. Husband's obviously like, okay, like, you know, this is a lot. He gets dressed in his theatre clothes, and we go in. They put the ice on me. They put the drugs in first, and they put the ice on, and they said, look, just going to put this ice on. You shouldn't be able to feel it. Like, it shouldn't feel cold or anything. And they put it on, and it was very, very cold. And I was like, that is extremely cold. So they said, okay, some more drugs in, give it a little bit more time. We'll test it again soon. I put the ice on. I was like, the ice is pretty cold still. But I don't know. By that point, you know, I felt like I was so out of control. I was shaking uncontrollably, like the worst shake that I've had, and not knowing what's going on. Like, why am I shaking like this? I didn't know that was a normal thing in theatre. I'm trying to stop it, and I can't stop it. And they said, they actually took they pinched me with something. They pinched me, and I said, ow, that hurts, you're pinching me. And they said, oh, shit. Obviously, this epidural isn't going to work for the C-section, and we're running out of time. We need to get the baby out, so you're going to have to be put to sleep.
It's all right.
And I was so devastated. Like, already, this whole labour, you know, everything that could go wrong is going wrong. It's just one thing after the next. And, you know, they said to my husband, well, we need to put her to sleep, so you can't be in here. And so he's got it because, you know, who's supposed to have their first baby and no one is there? It's not right. Like, yeah, your baby gets born and they don't even have either of the parents there. No one even gets to hear your baby's first cry. Like, why should the medical team be the first to, like, steal that joy? I'm not trying to be rude about it, but, you know, just from Um,
Your perspective.
my perspective, you know.
Yeah. It's first time.
I understand emergencies. I understand that, but yeah, it's just not a nice feeling. Anyway, so that's it. They put me to sleep, kicked him out. He's waiting outside, extremely anxious about what's going on, if we're going to be okay, or you know, whatever. And mind you, I will say, like my husband, you know, they did have a family loss of his little brother when he was just a young child. So, you know, it's rocked him. And any possibility of things going a bit wrong, you know, it's a lot. It's very heavy for him. So, just a bit of a background as to, you know, why he is where he is. He, you know, always prefers the hospital system and stuff, just in case something was to happen. So that there could possibly be a chance of help. Anyway, so yeah, carry on. They obviously did what they needed to do. Baby was born. She cried. He heard her sort of cry when he was waiting outside. They took a few photos with our phones of her. They brought her out to him relatively quickly. And he sort of, he got to just do a few of those basic things, like when they were weighing her and measuring her, and sort of dress her and, you know, be a part of all that. They wheeled me off to recovery. Eventually I woke up and I didn't have my baby. My husband wasn't there. I was just waking up in recovery on my own with a bunch of other random people who were also there from whatever surgeries they've had. They gave me ice block. I eat that. We carry on till the hours passed or however long it was meant to be that you're in recovery. And then they wheeled me to the ward, to my room. And as they wheeled me in through there was my husband and my baby girl waiting for me. And yeah, it was really incredible, but it was a lot. You know. So I had my own room, which was nice. We didn't have to share a room. And now, you know, I had my heart set on wanting to breastfeed. My mum didn't breastfeed; she bottle fed. And I had my heart set on breastfeeding. And TMI, but I had small flat nipples. Funnily enough, you know, I didn't think much of it. You know, like it's not like I had inverted nipples or no nipples. But I didn't really think it would be, I don't know. I guess, again, I was uneducated. I knew nothing. I was like, I want to breastfeed and I have boobs, I have nipples. Why can't I breastfeed? Like, surely. So, you know, get my baby, try to go back to my baby. It is really hard. Like, I just can't really get her latched. Like, I can't really get, like, my nipples are a bit flat. Like, they're not really protruding a lot to get her on. And I've had the midwives come in trying to help me. No one ever offered a lactation consultant. You know, just the midwife would come, she would try, like, oh, get it, like, you know, just keep trying. Like, they would go and I'm trying, like, and obviously sometimes the baby's upset, sometimes the baby's probably just getting tired from being upset, so she'll fall asleep for a cuddle, whatever, like. And, you know, I just kept trying and trying both sides, different midwives comes in, and eventually, night two was morning 3. Can't remember exactly, but one midwife comes in and she said, look, let me give you these nipple shields. Use that, just use that for now so you can start trying to feed your baby. And you know, like, to see how you go. Sometimes people use them and they can, you know, wean off them or whatever. Like, but just while you're here in the hospital, here's some shields. And so I did that, the shield on. Yep, beautiful, perfect. Baby's feeding, baby's happy. I was there for, I stayed for one night. Oh, 2 nights. Stayed for 2 nights, sorry. And my room was right in front of the maternity desk and the door to the special care nursery, as well as the storage room. It was so noisy. Like, constantly, I'm just listening to either the midwife and nurses, you know, having a yap because they can in the middle of the night when it's downtime, or the doors just slamming shut all the time. And so, you know, they wanted me to stay 3 days, you know, being in the section, and I said, no, I cannot get rest here. And my husband said to them, we're going. Get the discharge papers, we are leaving. And he said to me, do you want to leave or do you want to be here? And I was like, I know, I want to go. I just need some rest. But, you know, they want me to stay here for 3 days. It's the protocol. And he's like, no, if you want to go, let's go. So he said to the nurse, go and get the discharge papers, we're leaving. And so he's like, we're not going far, we're going up the road, you know, we'll be around. So we did that. And I was so much happier once we got out. The hospital, just got back to the house, comfier bed to sleep in, and I could rest. And I fed my baby, you know, with the shields, and she was happy, and she was feeding well, you know, she was sleeping. She was just divine. But yeah, you know, the bonding experience with her was a little bit hard because we had to, yeah, it wasn't, you know, we didn't step into what we thought it was going to be. So anyway, I fed her, and the midwife that does the home visits, she came out, checked her out, and she said, oh, yes, got a little bit of a lip tie and a tongue tie, but, you know, she's got a pretty strong suck on her. She let her suck her finger. And I really think that, you know, I really think that you can feed her. You know, by about 6 weeks, I reckon you'd be able to feed her without the shields. Like, she's got a pretty good latch. Like, I don't think, okay, well, that's great, but, you know, how am I going to get to that stage? Like, I would intermittently keep trying. Every time I went to feed her, I would try to latch her. And if I can't get a latch, you know, I would just go with the shield. And we went to visit a family member. She had a little boy. She was pregnant with her second. He was born 4 months after my daughter. So, and we went to visit, and I said to her, you know, my issues with feeding my daughter, what, you know, keeping on trying. And she's like, oh, I'll have a go at helping you latch her if you'd like when you next feed her. And I was like, oh, okay. Like, by that stage, I was no stranger to people trying to help me latch my baby. And yeah, so she did actually. She just sort of rolled her on to my breast, and I actually fed her there for the first time for a little bit without a shield, and that was really amazing. And I was like, wow, okay, like, so it wasn't the best feed, but it was something, you know. And I knew that we had something to work with. So, you know, we came home. I kept on practicing and trying. Week 6 come, the midwife comes. I was still using a shield, and I haven't been able to get her to latch yet. Like, she did once when we were away, but not yet. And she was like, okay, yes, just keep trying. And I so distinctly remember feeling disappointed because she said by 6 weeks I should be able to feed her without the shield, and it's 6 weeks and I'm not really getting it yet. Like, what's going on? So I was disappointed, I was feeling all the feels. I'm postpartum, and I sort of nearly felt like giving up, but I am not the person to give up, even though sometimes I feel like it. So I was literally about to just call it quits when I tried to latch her on again now at 7 weeks, and she did it. She did it. She latched on, and I was so excited. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, oh, we're doing it, finally. It's a little bit later than what they thought maybe, but we're actually doing it now. And, so I continued to feed her until she was about 1. My postpartum recovery with the section, it was rough. Afterwards, I felt like I'd been run over by a truck because I had laboured for so long. It was over 12 hours before we even considered the section. And I got fully dilated too. So, I was so sore, and I needed time to recover. Thankfully, I didn't have any other children, so I could. Like, my husband went back to work after 2 or 3 weeks, and I was just home. I didn't have any responsibilities other than, caring for the home and stuff, and I did have a bit of help with the washing and that sort of stuff. But again, back then, I didn't have a lot to do. Like, it was my husband, myself, and the baby. Like, there wasn't as much washing. It was easy to catch up on that sort of stuff. So once everything was caught up and tidy, it was good again for a while. So my postpartum was not too bad. I did struggle. I didn't have postpartum anxiety and depression and such, but I did go through a phase where it felt a little bit, I should say, lonely. My husband went back to work, and even though he was coming home over night time, I don't know, like when you have a newborn baby, especially first, the house was so quiet. Like, she was a good baby. Mm-hmm. She would feed and she would sleep. Like, rarely was she very upset for long periods of time and stuff. Like, maybe, that witching hour she was a bit grizzly, but for the most part, like, she would just so peacefully sleep in her little bassinet. And I'm like, I have this baby, but the house feels quiet and lonely, and we're not really getting, there's not really a lot going on. Like,
yeah.
And my husband's gone to work. So it was about 9 weeks postpartum that I finally started to feel a little bit lighter, and just enjoy the baby a bit more, those baby blues sort of felt like they finally lifted a bit. And I would just cry sometimes. Like, I don't know why, I would just have a little cry, and just like baby blues sort of really got me a little bit. But from about 9 weeks, things were great. And I fed her till she was about 1. And, I said to my husband, well, what do you think about having a second? And he said, oh, I'm not quite ready. Like, my mum had my sister and I very close together, both of us within a year. And so it was great. Like, for me, had this little best friend. We're on the same stages in life. And, I sort of thought, oh, it'd be good to have that for my own kids, like, have them sort of close together. But my husband's like, oh, actually, I'm not really quite ready. Like, I just want to enjoy her for a bit longer. And so I was like, oh, okay. But it gave me a bit of time to focus on my health and trying to lose a bit more weight, and just optimise myself a little bit before a subsequent pregnancy. That's where, like, that was her birth story.
It was a lot, and it's a very similar, like, harrowing story that so many women share on the podcast of, like, just not being supported and guided through the process of being, like, going through all these things the first time. And I think just like a few adjustments, like if people go to work and they're like, this is the first time mom, she's probably never had this sort of experience. Like if we went into birth suites, and I'm not saying we because I don't do this, I'm not working in the establishment, but if they went into birth suites and they had some joy and excitement, like this is a first time mom and this is the first time this person's experienced this. I mean, at the end of the day, a lot of people going into hospital, it is like a tremendous, scary experience for a lot of people. But, you know, it's a joyous occasion having your first baby. I mean, even if you're having a second, third, fourth, it's always a joyous experience and I suppose some guidance and support along the way. I mean, that I 100% think like everyone should be like amazing customer service, amazing support, like give the human connection and journey. I'm really sorry that you had that experience and being under GA and everything's really challenging, being separated from baby and the trauma and experience that you're bringing into your next birth as well.
Yeah, so I must say that actually I was actually pretty disappointed because, yes, I know I didn't do any birth prep classes or courses and that sort of stuff. But for someone of the general public, to me, the role of a midwife is to help and support the birthing mother. Now, I felt that I didn't get any of that. Like the midwives that tended to me, they just left me. They just put me on the bed, on the monitors, and just left me alone. And, you know, not once was there someone like, okay, well, you want epidural, I understand that, but you need to get up, you need to try and move around. Or here's a peanut ball if you're going to lay in the bed. Try and use the peanut ball to try and help, you know, the body progress and move things along a bit more smoothly. And, like, just little things like that. Things that I don't know. I haven't had a baby. I don't know these things. But, yeah, sure, on my part, I should have done a birthing course or a class or something. I probably would have learned about these things. But what is the purpose of the midwife in the hospital if they're not there helping you and guiding you with things that you don't know?
Yeah, I think, you know, they set you up that they are the almighty knowing and they know everything, right? So it would be very normal to think that they're going to guide you through the process and help you in every possible way. It was just yesterday my husband said to me, do you remember that birth class we went to? How disappointing and like pathetic was it? Like we didn't learn anything. And I was like, no, they just told you like about the epidural and this, but it was crap. But how hard would it be for Queensland Health, for example, to create a program that, like, it's online? All they have to do, it doesn't even cost money to create a program, just somebody's time. They have a person who comes in and teaches a program, and obviously it's not going to be like a hypnobirthing one probably because they're going to have one of their own people, right? But it could be like physicians. It could be like, I mean, it's not rocket science. But imagine if like every birthing woman got this thing right. This is what happens in caesareans. This is what happens in an induction, because they clearly don't have the time. I'm very passionate about this. So passionate about this. I've been like ruminating about this. They clearly don't have the time in the sessions, right? So why not give a bloody class that's online and they've got all the information, and then at least you have something. Anyways, that's what I've come up with the last. It's just stupid, isn't it? But it upsets me because I hear the same story time and time again. And also I was that first time mum that went through that experience and felt exactly the same and just was almost laughed and mocked at by doctors, you know, what a silly question. Like, I'm a first time mum. How am I supposed to know? Like, no question is a stupid question at this point.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Like, and you know, they're in the medical system. Like, what is the job of a midwife? You know, help deliver the babies, like help the birthing mother. So, well, if you can see that something's not really right, like, wouldn't you offer that assistance? Like, hey, would you like to try this or that? Or, You
Yeah.
know, these are the things that are available. These are the options that are available. What do you want to try and do here? Like, you know, just a bit of guidance and providing some options, not just be like, okay, well, you've left your run too late now. This is, like, even this wireless monitoring. Like, if someone said to me right from the start, these are the different monitoring options, we're going to start with this one. If they have no good, like this, blah, 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 before you just jump in and get that epidural and then, you know, and then bring out the wireless monitoring with the clip in the head. Like, you know, just little things like that. It just doesn't set you up for success or even an attempt at success.
100%. 100%. So
So,
with your like next pregnancy, your husband's on board and it's a planned pregnancy?
yeah, so next pregnancy, we decided, righto, we're ready now. I had gone through a stage of losing some weight, getting fit, getting healthier again, you know, prior, and it did take us actually about 3 months to have him. I was a bit surprised, given that I had worked so hard to lose weight and really tried to be as healthy as I can be. I was always sort of by that stage, yeah, I had sort of really grown into naturopathy, like naturopathy, and you know, I was starting to broaden my horizons a bit, you know, in terms of natural approaches to things, and anyway, so yeah, 3 months in, fell pregnant with him. That was really great. I was still, you know, I mean, when you're full on into the medical system, like, you can't just shake it overnight. So, you know, I still went to the doctor. Actually, this time I said, okay, I'm pregnant. I need to go and see the OBGYN straight away. I organised all my bloods prior to seeing the OBGYN, because I knew now what bloods they would want from me. So I made sure to do the HCG, repeated 2 days later, get the progesterone test as well, approached the OBGYN. Now, I actually originally had an appointment booked with a OBGYN that I wanted to see the first time with my daughter, but I couldn't get in because it was so last minute. For something else, I had the appointment made for something else. And funnily enough, it just worked out. Like, I fell pregnant around that time. So I contacted the OBGYN that I saw with my doctor, knowing that I did have this other appointment booked that I was probably going to cancel now that I'm pregnant. And the bloods was basically exactly the same. The HCG was doubling, should indicate a viable pregnancy. Progesterone was being about the same as what it was with her. He says to me, oh, no, all is good. You don't need the progesterone. Everything's fine. Results are fine. Carry on. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like, I'm so nervous, so nervous, because we've been through this. We've got to the stage, like, we figured out what was working, and now you're telling me this. I'm not comfortable and confident enough to not do the same protocol. So I decided to keep my appointment with the OBGYN that I originally wanted to see, a great family suggestion. And I rang the receptionist. So his receptionist is not the friendliest person, very hard to talk to. And I said, look, I had this appointment with him, and I'm coming to it. It was actually an OBGYN thing. It wasn't for pregnancy. The referral was sent for, you know, something else, not for pregnancy. But I said, I urgently need this appointment, because it just so coincided with me being smack bang just about on that 6-week mark. I started to get spotting, by that stage, I had also started taking some vitamins and supplements to try and help support my progesterone through the natural path. And, I did the appointment, and I remember she said to me, well, you'll have to go back to the GP now, and you're going to have to go and get them to change the referral or send it back, because your appointment wasn't supposed to be for pregnancy. But I kind of, I found I'm rocking up and I'm seeing him. So I saw him, gave him the bloods. He actually did a little scan there in his room. There's little Bubba, heartbeat, beautiful, smack bang, measuring where it's supposed to be. And he said, yes, no, the progesterone is low. You need to get on the progesterone caesareans. He ended up giving me a different brand and a stronger one than what I had with my daughter. So I started then, and I only spotted and bled for about 2 days, and then it went away. And so I continued with the caesareans that whole first trimester, did the scans, everything was progressing nicely, looking good, normal. They wanted me to do a GTT test at 18 weeks. 16, early one, because I was a lower BMI than with my daughter, but I was still overweight. So I did it. It came back fine, all good. They said, righto, well, we need you to do another one later on. So did another one later on. It came back and it was 0.01 over their cutoff. So they flagged me. They said, you got GD. So I was like, are you kidding me? Like, that's not even, like, I understand it's cutoff, but that is like, that's not even far over. Like, that is 0.01. Like, they said, no, we're treating it, it is what it is. So I was like, okay.
The amount of women that I've spoken to who have had it 0 point whatever 1, and it's 3 different tests as well. So you've got the fasting and then you've got the 2 afterwards, and it's like usually just one test. One of those 3 tests is just over.
And it was the 2-hour blood after the drink. Yeah. Like, it wasn't even the fasting one.
Yeah. I had exactly the same for me, and that was enough to capture me. And if you had done the same thing on a different day and maybe even jumped up and down 5 times, it would have been different. And that's the difference between induction, C-section, with this.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
For sure, because that's exactly it. Like, so, I controlled it through diet, and I was like, I don't believe this is really a thing, but whatever. So I'm eating really well. It's all diet controlled, like perfectly fine, not an issue in the world. Carried on with my pregnancy, and I was so hell-bent on wanting to try for VBAC. So at least I knew that was an option. And I knew that I could dilate, so it wasn't a problem there.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, so obviously I'm going to try for VBAC. And I've got this GD. Now, this is an issue because they're telling me you have 2 options. You can come to this local hospital here. If you maintain your weight well, you could just scrape in to come here. But you come here, you cannot be induced. You cannot, like, no induction whatsoever because of the GD and the VBAC. You cannot go overdue at all. Like, seriously, by that, like, those 2 things in combination with each other, with the GD, like, what are your chances?
Yeah.
They said, if you want to, we can send you the referral to go back to Rockhampton. Maybe they might be able to have a bit more wiggle room with their risk policy to do, like, maybe be at a mild induction or let you go a bit overdue. I don't know. They said, we don't know, talk to them about it, but they're a bit higher risk possible than what we are. So, and I thought, okay, here we go. So obviously I want a VBAC, or I want to give myself every best chance of it. So we're going to go to Rockhampton. And I came across a chiropractor in our town, and she was one of the only few women's chiropractors in town, and most of them are men. And I saw her during my pregnancy, and I was like, right, like I have done a little bit more research into VBAC and, trying to listen to other people's stories, podcasts and stuff about VBAC. But a lot of them are talking about chiropractic care. So I was like, okay, that's what I'm going to do that. So I saw her, and she was really great. And she actually did some kinesiology for me, and she did my body work and stuff, and I felt good. Like, I felt really good. I then saw her one more time before I had set off to go to Rockhampton. I was 37 and a couple of days, and we got a lot of rain. We got so much rain that we were flooded in. And this was in, mid-March, not typically when we get a lot of rain. We were flooded in for about 3 days, and we went up the paddock. It was such a great time. It was beautiful. It was wet, but I was anxious because I'm like, I had my daughter at 39 weeks. I had an appointment at the hospital in Rocky at 38 weeks. And, I wanted to go a couple of days before, but here we are. We can't go anywhere. Stuck here. Like, the baby at home. Anyway, the day, we finally got out and we went to Rocky. I went to my appointment that morning, 38 weeks, and she said to me, oh, yeah, how's things? And I said, yeah, good. Meanwhile, during my pregnancy, I had done all the standard things, that you would normally do. Like, it was very basic, very standard, other than the GD that was diet control. And she said to me, okay, yep, so you want to try for VBAC? I said, yes. She said, okay, well, you got the GD, we can't let you go overdue, blah, blah, blah. So we can't really offer too much in terms of induction, but do you want to start this week today? And I said, absolutely not. I said to her, from a very early stage, I said, I won't have any intervention. And no intervention, I want to be left alone. And she was like, oh, okay. You sure? You don't want to sleep today? I had a sleep with my first, and I think that they may have nicked the membrane. I think the nurse had long nails, actually. And I have a feeling that she may have just nicked it a little bit, because it wasn't long after that I started to get that. Am I possibly having leakage or not? Anyway, so yeah, I said, no, leave me alone. She said, okay, well, we need you to come back and, can you at least come back every 2-3 days just to come and get checked out, whatever. Like, yeah, girl, I can do that. But you're not doing anything. Like, I will not okay any of this until I feel like it. So we left. We met up with some friends, the family member that helped me latch my first baby. We met up with them. They were actually expecting their third, and she was overdue by that stage. So we went to the zoo. We took all our kids to the zoo. It was a hot day. A lot of walking. I was, feeling big and pregnant and stuff, and we went back to her parents' house. They had a pool. We hopped in the pool that afternoon. It was so nice after a big day, like 4 hours of travelling, a day at the zoo, up and down the hills, and we just chilled out in the pool. It was beautiful.
What were you two women thinking? Going to the zoo, heavily pregnant, around to pop? Yeah, I'll just go to the zoo. Well, that sounds terrible to me, but the pool sounds nice.
The pool, man, it's good. And anyway, we got out of the pool and sat around for a bit before we left to go back to where we were staying. And I sat down and I went, oh, gosh, like I am so uncomfortable. Like my bottom is so sore. I don't know what this baby's doing. He's in the wrong position. I'm not really sure what's going on, but he is jarring me the wrong way. My bottom hurts. I'm having trouble sitting down. But, you know, that's all I thought about it. This baby is just in a funky position. So 7 o'clock we left. We went home, grabbed some tea on the way home, had a shower, put my daughter to bed. My sister was meant to look after her, and but I didn't think, you know, I'd have the baby anytime soon. I thought at least another week closer to the due date. So, you know, we just chucked all our thoughts in the room. Like I hadn't packed her bag for her to be dropped off or anything. That was to be done in the coming days. It was 9 o'clock. We were so tired. It was a big day. Took 2 Panadols, went to lay down. Maybe I need to go to the toilet. I just don't feel real great. So I went to the toilet for a while. Got off the toilet. 10 o'clock. I'm like, okay, I'll just lay down and just see if I can get a bit of rest. And then I started slowly, like, just get a bit uncomfortable. Thought I might have been getting some pains. And I said, I got up, and my husband woke up at 10:30 just to see where I was at. And I was just hanging out in the lounge room, just starting to get a few contractions, a few pains. I said, I'm starting to get a few pains, you know, what should I do? And they told me, if you think that you're going into labour, you need to come straight to the hospital. Like, VBAC, you come straight in. And I was like, no way, that's not happening, because I'm not going to the hospital straight away. So I ginned around and, you know, just ginned around. And eventually, like, it was pretty full on. Like, you know, I'm trying to pack up my daughter's bag, thinking, okay, I know that we're going to have to eventually go in. So I will pack my daughter's bag so I can drop her off to my sister's. Trying to pack up. My husband's trying to talk to me, like, just stop. Do not talk to me. Like, I cannot right now. Wait until this is finished. And then, you know, he'll try to talk in between. And we pack up. I rang up the hospital and said, look, I don't know if I'm getting contractions or what's going on. Like, I'm getting some pain. But, you know, they're like, okay, no. I had like 4. I just stopped about 4 times when I was talking to her in the 10 minutes, you know. And she said, okay, no, come in. What's the worst? You can always send you home. Righto, cool. So we get in the car. We go drop my sister off to my daughter off to my sister's house. And it was a lot. Like, I'm sitting in the car and I'm like, okay, like, this is, you know, this is starting to get a bit intense now. Dropped her off, went up to the hospital. It was, you know, just nearing midnight. We pulled up in the car park. My husband's like, okay, well, we need you to get out now. I'm like, kidding me? Like, that's a long walk from the car park to the hospital. Like, can you drop me off both? Like, if I'm going to walk, that's fine, but you just need to bear with me. Like, you know, if I need to stop, I need to stop. So stopped a few times for contractions along the way, get out to the front. There's one little bench in front of the hospital. And I said to him, okay, buzz the door, tell them, you know, come and open the door, because it's locked now, it's midnight. And he buzzes the door. Yeah, just to let you know, we're here. My wife's having a baby. Can you please come open the door? So I said, yeah, righto. Someone will be down soon to come and open the door. I'm sort of crouched over the little bench seat out the front of the hospital door. And things are happening very quickly. Yeah, that really caught me off guard, how fast it's happening. I ended up even, like, pooping myself. I said to my husband, ring the buzzer right now and tell them to open this door. Hurry up, because I just pooped in my pants and, the baby's coming out.
So you're basically just dropped at this point. Like, do you feel like you every now and then, or?
And all of a sudden, I feel him drop down. and my waters broke. And I could really feel him in the birth canal. He just dropped straight in there. Prior to that, he was never engaged. Any appointment I had, there was no engagement. You know, he was just chilling out. So, yeah, I was surprised. And, you know, I had never done this before, didn't know what to expect. It went from just having a few pains, thinking, is this contractions? Is it not? I'm not really sure. You know, I suppose we'll go and get checked out. I'm dragging the chain because I knew if I get to that hospital, you know, they could possibly intervene with me. And they told me to come at the first sign of a possible contraction, and I decided, no, I'm not going anywhere. I want to stay far away as long as I can. But, yeah, anyway, so he buzzes them back. He says, look, you need to come now. Like, my wife is having a baby here outside in front of the hospital. You need to come. So they rush down with the wheelchair. They get out there and they said, oh, okay. Righto, lovey, we need you to get in the wheelchair so that we can get you up to maternity. And I said, I can't sit in that wheelchair. Are you crazy? Like, I have a baby coming out of me. I cannot sit down. They said, well, we need you to sit down. So we need to get upstairs, quick. I don't know how I managed to do that, but somehow I did. Once we got up there and they helped me get everything off, because I wasn't exactly dressed to go and have a baby either. I wore this long dress that was so impractical. But anyway, we get everything situated. They said, okay, can you please hop up on the bed? We just need to check where things are at, how things are going. So get up on the bed, and the midwife says, oh, wow, his head's right here. So do you want to push? And I was like, oh, I don't know. Like, I don't know. Do I need to push up? I don't know. And she said, well, with the next contraction, if you'd like to give a push, you can give a push. I was on my back and I said straight up, no. You need to, I want to turn over. Like, I don't want to be on my back. I'm so uncomfortable at this stage. Like, I can't do anything like this. Let's change it up. So they helped me get on my side, and my husband's staying there holding my hand and my leg. And, yeah, it was all of a couple of little pushes, and he was out. And it was absolutely incredible. I didn't know his gender, so I picked him up, and I said, oh, it's a boy. Like, my husband knew it was a boy. I didn't know. I thought it was a girl. And so I got the shock of my life when I saw this little swollen ball bag in my face. And I'm like, oh, my gosh, it's actually a boy. Like, what on earth? And, yeah, so baby straight up on the chest. I must say the midwife was really good, actually, during the pushing stage. Like, she had warm compresses that she helped, and as he was crowning, she said, okay, like, do not push hard right now, like, just take it easy, you know, for the tearing and stuff. So she did a really, really great job of guiding me through all that and doing what, you know, she knew she could do to help in that time. And yeah, he was on my chest, and he sort of nuzzled around looking for the breast, and straight away, you know, he found it all on his own and even latched on his own. And my husband and I are both just so surprised by all of this, just how natural it is, how normal it is for baby to be able to do that. So that was incredible on such a high.
Yeah. How many hours do you think it was all up there?
4 hours.
4 hours all up. And can you remind us how long your first birth was?
My first birth, I started the drip at midnight.
Yeah.
Through till lunchtime, about 1 o'clock lunchtime the next day when I had my section.
Yeah. But you had your waters naturally broke.
Yeah, my waters just naturally broke.
When did they break?
7 p.m. that
7.
night.
Yeah.
Mm.
So you were in labour for a long time with your first, and then
Yeah.
I love sharing this because I've heard this quite a lot actually. Women who have ended up either being induced or had waters broken, being induced, and they have like this 24-hour experience, and then a lot of people who I've worked with or even heard on the podcast, they have like this 4-hour birth experience, which is just.
Yeah.
I had a client who had a 3-hour birth after a 24-hour induction. It's just like, it's crazy how you just don't know what's happening. And were you like completely shocked at how quickly that was compared to your first experience?
Yeah, I was very shocked, and that's why, at the very first sign of possible contractions, I was like, oh, no, definitely not. I will not be going to the hospital in a rush. I will not be going there because this is going to take a long time. I drag the chains, pack in the bags. My husband's like, hurry up. Like, we should get going. We've still got to drop her off. We've still got to get to the hospital, And I'm like, no, it's fine. Like, the longer I stay away from there, the better.
What did you feel when you knew the baby was coming? Like, so, because, people listening or thinking they haven't had a vaginal birth before. So what are the signs that you felt as a first-time vaginal birther, not having the experience, but you knew the baby was coming? What did you feel?
Honestly, Ashley, I went with the flow. Like, I got that strong period contraction pain, and it was very much in the abdomen and the period pain section. It was so different from what I had with my daughter. Like I said, I had none of that with my induction, and it was just the waves, like, it just comes and then it just eases off, and then it comes and it eases off. And it grew stronger and longer, and you may need to hold your breath for a while or stop talking or what you're doing and stuff, and then you can go back to it for a little bit. But walking from the car park to the front door, that was tough. Like, trying to walk when you're labouring, I did have to stop quite a few times, and just really just zone in on what's happening, let my body feel it all, just breathe, best as I can through it, way whatever I needed to do, and then, I could take a few more steps closer again.
Yeah. And then when you were like screaming to your husband, like, open the door, tell him to open the door, the baby's coming. How did you know the baby was coming?
I could just feel him. Like, I had the contraction pains, but I did not feel him moving down into the birth canal at all. But in that moment, after I pooped, I felt him just drop straight down, just drop right into the birth canal. It was quite an odd feeling, actually, because it just feels like your baby's just falling out of you. Obviously, they still have a little way to go, but they fall right down, ready to crown. And then the water's gushing out as that happened at the same time. That's when I knew there's no going back now. Like, this baby is coming. It's not just contractions preparing for the labour anymore. It's happening. And I guess, in that moment, I felt there was so much hope and there was a real chance, like, I'm busy doing this. We're not going back. It's happening. Yeah. And I have to get through this because it's happening.
How did you go in postpartum after that baby?
My I did hemorrhage with him. I had him hemorrhaged. They made.
Do you know why that was it? Like, did you have a tear or was it?
I had a small second. Yeah, I had a small second-degree tear, but I don't really truly know. Like, I know there was a lot of clots, but actually they gave me the needle. They gave me
Yeah.
the needle to deliver the placenta really quickly after I had him. Not that there was an issue with the baby. He was perfectly fine.
Hmm.
So they hurried that along really quickly, as they do. I was like, oh, okay, like, I've never done this before, right? I suppose that's what everyone does, like. I was just so happy that I had that VBAC. So I didn't really think about the consequences of post having him.
Yeah.
Did that. They said, oh, you're bleeding. Oh, they asked me, did I want to get up and have a shower? I said, yes, please. That would be lovely. I get up. I go to the shower. My husband's baby. I'm having a shower and I'm starting to feel really dizzy. And I said to my husband, like, I don't really feel very well at all. Like, I feel really dizzy. The midwife's sitting around the corner towards the entrance door, just doing her notes and stuff. And he said, oh, okay, that's not good. So I said to him, look, can you tell the midwife, that I feel like I'm going to faint, like I feel really, really dizzy. And she yells out, yes, I can hear you. It's all good. And that's as much as I remember. Then I remember waking up, like everything just went black. I remember waking up and they're trying to help me up. And I said, my toe, like somehow, obviously I must have collapsed. I fell down and I reckon I could have broken my toe because my one little toe was bent back the wrong way and it was black for weeks after that. And it was so sore. My toe. And they're trying to help me up, put me up on the chair. They said, okay, let's get you back in the bed. They're doing the fundal massage, which is, again, caught me off guard so much because that was so painful. Like, you just have your baby. It was a happy days. You just have this incredible birth experience. And now they're just doing this horrendous fundal massage that just makes you want to scream and jump through the roof. I never had that with my section. So, yeah, so doing that, they say, okay, well, we're concerned about the bleeding. Oh, are you there?
I've lost my microphone. You can probably hear me now.
Yeah, there it is.
Did you have bleeding at this point? Like, were you bleeding throughout?
Yeah, so they're saying, okay, we're concerned, you're bleeding too much. There's clots coming out. There is still clots in that's not coming out. We can see, do you mind if we dig them out?
Mm.
And I was like, okay, well, I suppose, like, what am I supposed to do, You do what you think you need to do. So they start trying to dig the clots out. And at this point, I'm still baffled as to why I'm bleeding so much because the placenta came out. It was perfect. They said the placenta was beautiful, like whole. And, there's clots, so they dig some out. That was excruciating. And leave me be for a bit longer. And this is going on for 2 or 3 hours. And the more they need to dig the clots out, the worse it's getting. So I'm sucking on the gas. My vision is black. I can hear it all and I'm with it, but my vision is completely black. I suck on it so hard. The pain is so excruciating. I just want to jump through the roof, and we're not making any headway here. There's still clots. They bring the head obstetrician in. They said, look, what are we doing here? There's clots. The ultrasound's showing clots now that isn't coming out. It's too painful to keep proceeding. So what now? And she said, righto, up to theatre we go. We are going to have to put you to sleep. You will need to have a D&C. We will clean it all out and stuff. And obviously try and stop this bleeding because we're up to about 1.5 litres of blood loss so far. worst part about that was that the way she explained it to me, she said to me, if I can't stop the bleeding, I need you to sign this paperwork because it's going to be a full hysterectomy. And I was like, are you kidding me? I just had my baby and you're telling me that I might be getting a hysterectomy because you might not be able to stop the bleeding. This is not okay. I can't take this information in right now. I can't deal with this right now. I was in tears. I was crying, was so upset. My husband is so distressed and upset because he's worried about me and the bleeding, and I'm worried about getting a hysterectomy, and, it's a mess. So anyway, what can you do? We need to proceed. We go up there. The theatre nurses were lovely. One of the girls that I met going into theatre, she was actually local from out town. I knew of her, but never knew her. And she said who she was, and she said, you're going to be okay. I'll make sure you're looked after. You're going to be all right. And, yeah, it was a mess. So we went in. They did what they had to do. I was all over, came back to recovery. Again, I was just on my own. My husband waiting in the room with the baby. Afterwards, I go back to my room, back to hubby and the baby. And, I felt okay then, a bit groggy, but felt quite okay. Later, the obstetrician comes by and she said, oh, yeah, everything went really well. We were able to stop the bleeding pretty quickly. There was only about another 300 ml of bleeding during the procedure, and everything's great now. And no hysterectomy, so happy days. She comes back all happy and chuffed. And of course, I was relieved to hear the outcome was good, but I think her approach to how she handled the situation leading into it could have been a bit softer. Just instead of jumping straight into the deep end, you're bleeding a lot, you're probably going to most likely could end up with a hysterectomy. This is very serious. It would be nice to just, start a little bit more cared for or empathetic about it, I suppose. But yeah, anyway, so that was that. I was pretty tired afterwards, with low iron. I was on the verge of, should I get an iron infusion, should I not? Because blood said yes, but then I was appearing and presenting well enough for them to kind of be like, nah, I think you'll be right. See how you go. Supplement with iron postpartum. And yeah, just see how you get on with that first. So I was only in for the one night, and then we got to leave the next day. Regardless of all of this, I was still on a very big high about the fact that I had my baby with a VBAC. So that was enough in its entirety to get me through anything. I felt that good that I think on day 2 we decided to go to the beach, take my daughter and my husband. We went to the beach, and even though I couldn't swim, they had a swim, and we had, a good day out.
You didn't, did you? You went to the beach 2 days after.
Yeah, yeah.
So you felt pretty good then, did you?
Yes, yeah. I felt good. I honestly, I felt good. And even like my body, I felt good. Yeah, I was a bit tired. I didn't do a lot of big things at once, but I felt good. I felt happy.
Is the beach because you're at Rockhampton and normally you're like 4 hours away from the beach, is it like a novelty? This is a really lovely place for us to be?
Yeah, definitely. No, we do look forward to going because, it's not somewhere we go very often, so it's nice for a change of scenery. And Rockhampton is very much a city for us. It's busy. There's a lot going on. There's cars and traffic and people and that sort of stuff that, we're used to quite a quiet life. So at the beach, there's space.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's nice being at the beach. It makes you feel calm as well. I just don't like when I can't swim.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and
I
you're
was a bit
roasting.
disappointed because I'm very much a water person,
Yeah,
and
I
I'm
am too.
watching the two of them have a swim, and I'm like, I'm sitting here with the baby, and it's lovely to be with you, but I'd also like to have a swim.
Yeah, 100%. That's my, like, if I'm in postpartum, I'll like, all like, because I've always had summer babies, like November, December. I'm always
Yeah.
like just waiting for that time so I can get in that pool. I even had like or get to the beach or whatever it is. So yeah, I feel you. Yeah, that makes sense. I'm glad that you got to go somewhere happy then.
Yeah, so, but yeah, the rest of my postpartum was really good.
Mm,
No issues there at all.
that's
Carried
good.
on, and yeah,
And then, so you had your VBAC, you had a bit of a scary time with the postpartum hemorrhage. You had to go under again. Were you separated from baby very long, or
yeah, it was about an hour or two at the
yeah,
most.
but not that much longer time like last time?
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah. So now you've got two little ones, and then so you've got 7, 4.5, and then you've got 3. So not very long after, you find yourself pregnant again.
yeah. So
Is that a plan?
my, we decided we were going to have 3 kids
Yeah.
from the start. That was it. We're going to have 3 kids.
Yeah.
We've got the 2, so we're in the thick of it now. What the heck? Why not just have our third and final, and have them a bit closer in age, but that's fine. Let's get this over and done with so we can step into the next stage of our life. So I fell pregnant with the twins. It was about April 2021. So my daughter was 2.5, and my son was about 1. And fell pregnant pretty quickly. Again, prior to this pregnancy, I did go through quite a health journey, just to, again, try and optimize my weight a little bit better, get a bit healthier, as you do when you're knowing that you want to get pregnant again. Fell pregnant, planned, and I rang the OBGYN, the one that I saw with my son, the one that I wanted to see. I said to them, look, I'm pregnant. I've just got the home test saying positive. I'm arranging the bloods to be done. I'll CC him into the results. Did that as I have done before. HCG, doubles, variable. He said straight away, get on the progesterone. Levels were all much the same. I'll post it out to you. Don't come and see me straight away because there's no need to see me, at 5, 6 weeks. I'll see you at 8 weeks, but I'll send you the medication. Start taking it straight away. So I do that. All good. I was meant to see him about 8 weeks, and then he got sick, so he had to postpone the appointment. And my GP in town, the one that I first saw just to get the blood test referral, she gave me a referral for a scan, just at the scan place for my dating scan. And I thought, I got that sort of anxious sort of feeling like, should I wait to go see the OBGYN or should I just go to the scan place here in town? Because, I'm about 8 weeks now. I just want to, I don't know, you just want to quickly just check in. And but I remember feeling so hungry. I was extremely hungry. My previous pregnancies, I was never overly hungry, nauseous, but not ridiculously hungry. I was so hungry. Then I would eat, then I'd obviously feel nauseous. And I went to the scan place. I was like, stop it. I'll just go to the scan place here. And, I can still see him when he's back again. And my husband said, okay, well, I'm not going to come. I'm not going to take time off work to come to that because that's just, we've been there, done that. It's so early. There's not a lot to see. You just do that. So I was like, yep, cool. So I went in and lay down and, he's having a chat, puts the the gel on, and he gets his machine out to have a look. And I thought I saw two, little pregnancy blobs, but he moved it so quickly to just show one. And I thought, am I imagining things? Like, am I going crazy? Because I thought I saw something, but then the whole time I was there, he's just showing one. And he's just having a chat. Like, he is not fazed at all by what's happening. Like, I'm thinking, okay, I must be mistaken here. And he does his thing, and afterwards he said, okay, look, I do need to talk to you about something. And I was not even one little bit concerned necessarily about the baby, because I could see on the screen, I saw that little flickering heartbeat. I saw his measurements. Like, so I'm thinking, he can't tell me that there's no baby, because I saw that. Like, and he said, so yeah, I've got to talk to you about something. And I looked at him and I said, no. I said, no. I just got the cold shivers. I said, you're not going to tell me this. I can't hear this. And he said, yes, there are two babies and they both have a heartbeat, and they are, they're perfect. They're measuring well, and there is two. And originally, I was freaking out. Like, you cannot tell me this. Like, I'm not supposed to have two. There's supposed to be one. We decided we were only having one more child. My husband was very firm on 3 kids, not 4, not more. We were having 3. The logistics of life is simple. You get in any car, you go somewhere. You can go on a family holiday. Like, this is, how am I supposed to go home now and tell my husband, by the way, we're having 4 kids possibly when we are supposed to have 3. So, I'm having this little freak out. I'm on my own. And anyway, so it was, I sucked it up. He was at work. I didn't talk to him for the rest of the day. He got home that night. We were having a shower, and I said to him, so look, if the most unexpected thing in your life could happen to you, what would it be for you? And he was sort of like, oh, I don't know. Like, that's a pretty odd question. Like, why would you ask something like that? And I said, well, the most unexpected thing that I could have ever thought has happened to me today, and I don't know what to do with it or what to think of it. And he looked at me a bit worried, and I said, there's 2. There is 2 babies, and they both have a heartbeat. And he looked at me and he said, you're joking, right? Like, you're kidding. That's not real. Like, you're joking, right? I said, I wish I was joking, but I'm not joking. Like, it's true. Here's the photos. And he's like, what on earth? This is insane. But, regardless of all of it, we were so delighted. We were so happy and thrilled. And we just couldn't believe it. There's no family history of twins anywhere. It's just completely spontaneous. And, just totally caught us off guard. So my pregnancy was very good with the twins, I will say. As much as the twins put you in that little bit higher risk category, everything was very standard with them. There was no issue. I did have very regular scans. And it wasn't until about 30 or so, 28 weeks, 30 weeks, that the scans are showing that both babies have breached. And that's when I was like, oh, okay. This is a little bit disappointing because, I've had that VBAC. Of course, I'd love to try for another VBAC. But that's not really an option unless at least one baby is head down. So what am I going to do here? And for some reason, I don't know. I don't know if I felt just too run down, or if it was just trying to just deal with the kids that I already had, plus the pregnancy and stuff. Like, I just didn't go into my holistic approach like I did with my second as much, and I do regret that actually now. One was sort of transfers, could have flipped head down possibly, but I didn't do anything about it too much. I was sort of like, oh, okay, well, automatically they're all telling me, doctors and midwives and everyone, you're going to have a section anyway, probably anyway, because it's twins, like high risk. Even though there was no issues, just higher risk. Babies are breech, so it's a section. Like, just get on with it.
What do you wish that you had done differently? Like, were you talking about nutrition? Or are you talking about, like, what are you talking about?
Like my chiropractic care, like all of my body work that I did with the chiropractors. I did a lot of spinning babies with my second as well.
Okay.
And I did none of that this time. Like, I didn't do spinning babies. I didn't do chiropractor. I just carried on with my normal life. So I didn't, like, I feel like I could have done something to try to just make a bit more room for them to sort themselves via the body work. But yeah, anyway, so I sort of made my peace a little bit with the fact that it was probably going to be a section, only because my neighbour also has twin boys and she had them privately. They were her first kids and she had them, and they told her straight up, it's a section. She actually had them both head down in the private hospital, first babies, and they're like, no, it's a section, this is just policy. Like, it's, there's a few people in our local town that also have twins, and they all have sections, regardless of what the situation was, public, private, they all have sections. And I was like, okay, well, this is just how it is. So just rolled with it. I was booked in to go to Rockhampton at 37 weeks and have my section at 37 weeks. I ordered a bunch of new car seats from the same place. They got sent on the same time. And one turned up. A week later, another one turned up. And it was the following Monday that the third one turned up. And I needed all these car seats before I could go to Rockhampton. So we were delayed in leaving. We were planning on going a week before, about 36 weeks, but we were delayed because I didn't have those car seats. So instead of going the weekend prior, we had to wait until Monday, get the car seats. Tuesday morning, we decided we'll set off. Monday was a big day. We're setting up all the car seats, cleaning the house, all those things that you're doing in preparation to go and have your babies. I was big, and I was well. I was really well. 36 weeks. So,
can I ask you what sort of twins did you have? Were they identical? Were they paternal? Fraternal? Is it fraternal or paternal?
Fraternal, yeah.
Fraternal, yeah. Are they fraternal? Yeah. So, okay. So they're fraternal twins. So you didn't have any added extra stress. They had like their own placenta, their own sacs. They were their own like little people in there.
Yep.
Which made
that's it. So essentially, just two separate pregnancies at the very same time.
Yeah.
And I was very grateful for that, because of that being the lower risk of the twin scale. I had already followed other people on social media that had identical twins sharing the placenta that had issues with one taking too much and the other not getting enough. And sadly both of them lost either one twin or both twins. But so I had learned about all these things, and then I was so grateful that we were where we were with fraternal twins, and they were both on their own little own people in their own sections or centres, and they did exceptionally well. They measured beautifully, never really behind or anything like that. So, yeah, we had a big day packing up, and we decided we're too tired to head off to Rockhampton that afternoon. It was late. Let's have a good sleep tonight, and in the morning we'll get up nice and early. We'll hit the road. We'll even grab brekkie on the road, and we'll get to Rockhampton, and we can just wait out the week there, spend some time with the kids before we have the twins. So we get up the next morning and pack the last stuff in the car, and I'm in my nesting phase, decide I need to clean the bathroom. You always got to clean the bathroom, and I'm cleaning the toilet and all those random things. And I was like, I am feeling quite uncomfortable today. But it has been a few big days. I had a good sleep, but I feel really uncomfortable this morning. And I'm trying to finish off the last housework. So once we get in the car, I'm thinking, okay, it's time to relax now. Got a bit drive coming up. I'll feel better soon. We start driving. The first sort of town near us, but before our main town where our hospital is about 20 minutes away. And all they have there is just a servo, cafe and an ambulance station. We get there, and I said to my husband, I don't know. I think I might be getting some pain. I'm not really sure. And he said, okay, we need to go to Rocky today. And he said, maybe you should try and time them, just to see. I was like, okay, I suppose. And I timed some, and I said, yeah, they feel a little bit like they did with my second. But again, I'm sort of in denial. I'm like, I don't know, surely not. Maybe it's just fracture. I don't know. And we sort of keep driving. And at this stage, all of our family members were away. So we had everyone away except his brother and his uncle. They were working at his workshop. We get closer to Emerald, and I said to him, I don't know, something in me is just telling me we're not going to make it. These pains are starting to ramp up. And I timed them, and they are very, very close together. I would get 3 within, 4 minutes or so, 3 minutes. And he's sort of stressed, and I'm like, he said to me, what do you want to do? And I said, well, we just need to get to Rockhampton. You're going to have to start driving a bit faster, and we need to get to Rockhampton. That's where we're supposed to be. They told me from very early on, you cannot come to this hospital. We are not set up for twins. We're a low-risk hospital. You need to go to Rockhampton. Do not come here. So, we drive closer, and we're about 20 minutes out from town. And I said to him, I don't know, Jen, something in me is, I just don't feel like we're going to make it to Rockhampton. We have a very long way to go. We've still got, 3.5 hours to go. But I just feel like we're not going to make it. And I said, can you please ring your brother and ask him if he can come and wind the kids? Let's get to town. We'll stop at the hospital. I will just ask, maybe they can help us get to Rocky quicker with helicopter, or maybe they can, give you something to stop the contraction so that we can get to Rockhampton quicker. So let's just stop and get checked out and see what we should do. So I said, okay, we'll do that. We'll stop at the hospital. His brother is about 5 minutes or so behind us in getting there. So we get there, I go in. She said, I'll sit with the kids in the car until he comes, and then I'll come in. I said, yep, cool. shouldn't be a big rush. You know, I might only be like 3 centimeters or so. Like, you know, this is early, very early days. Like, I'm not stressed too much, but, you know, I feel better that we just have a plan now. I go in, the doctor says, okay, so do you think you're getting some contractions? I said, I think so. I'm not really sure. Like, I'm getting some pain, but, you know, I think it's early. And she said, okay, let's check them out. So she checks with ultrasound. Babies are happy. Heartbeats are beautiful. Both still very rich. And she said, I can see your contractions. I said, oh, okay, can you? And she said, yeah, look, do you mind if I check your cervix just so we can get an idea of what's happening? I said, sure, go for it, expecting her to say maybe a 3. She does the thing. She says, holy shit, you need to get up to theatre right now. She said, call your husband, get him in here right now, bring the kids in. I don't even care right now. Just get him in here. We are going upstairs right now. So automatically, I just burst out into tears, just crying. She said, you are 7 centimeters going on 8. And I was like, oh, okay, right. She said, we're having the babies now, so, you know, get ready. And I rang my husband in tears because I got the shock of my life. And he's, you know, worried. He's like, I'm waiting for my brother. Like, I said, you need to get in here right now. I'm crying. And that's all I said. So he's freaking out, thinking maybe something has happened to one of the babies. And he gets in there and everyone is running around like headless chook. Now we are in a low-risk hospital with not much staff. So the whole hospital basically shuts down and everyone is tending to me. And he comes in and I said, we're having the babies right now. And he said, oh, wow, okay. And, yeah, the midwives and the nurses and doctors, there's people everywhere, and they're doing things to me and sticking, you know, cannulas in me. And it's a lot. And we're going upstairs to theatre, and I've said to them, they called both and me to just in, and I said, you are not putting me to sleep. I said, just so you know, I was put to sleep with my first, and I will not have that. I had an epidural, it didn't work, but you will not put me to sleep. I cannot do this. And they're like, oh, okay, well, we'll try the spinal, we'll do our best, but we can't guarantee anything. We'll have to see how it goes. And I was so stressed. I did what they want, you know, sit really still, and I can see the doctor. She's standing there in the corner of the room, the head doctor, and she's got her arms crossed, and she's sort of just indicating to the anaesthetist, like, hurry up, get things happening. You know, he's taking a while and not quite working or kicking in yet. Nothing's really happening, and she's stressing out. She said, do you need to push yet? And I said, no, I don't think so. She said, well, we may need to have a vaginal delivery in theatre. Hopefully not, but prepare yourself just in case. Anyway, he just gets it in time before she was going to make the call to put me to sleep, which I was so relieved that he, you know, could get things sorted. And yes, so the section starts, it's underway. I'm actually awake this time. Very odd feeling, a lot of pushing, pulling, and she was very quick. She did a very quick job of it. One baby comes out, he's crying, so that was always a good sign. I didn't get to see him straight away. They took him straight away to his little nest where they do what they do with the babies, and so push and pull a little bit more. Next one out, she showed me baby B. That was really sweet, and they took them over, and my husband went and had a quick look at them, and she said she actually had the heart to tell me No, actually, I lied. I saw her once in one of my doctor appointments before my section, and she said, "Oh, so do you want to tie your tubes? During the section, would you like to tie your tubes? Are you finished having kids?" And I said, "Well, I don't plan on having another child. We are having twins right now. Like, I haven't thought as far ahead. We didn't plan on twins now or 4 kids, but that's a decision for later. I'm not making that decision right now." And she said, "Oh, okay, right." So during my section, she pulled the 2 twins out, and she said to me, "So, just checking, do you want to tie your tubes while I'm in here now?" And I said, "Absolutely not. No, thank you. We're not doing this right now. Like, I'm busy having babies, not tying tubes. I can't. I'm not in the right state of mind to make this decision."
Yeah. Also, did she ever talk to you about your husband? It's just like that he's also an equation in this.
No,
It doesn't
nothing.
have to always be up to the women to have to sacrifice and do everything, right?
Yeah, yep. No,
Yeah.
she just thought, how convenient. Like, we're already in here. We might as well tie the tubes while we're at it.
It really annoys me. Like the thought of like, oh, you've had 4 kids, like an abomination. How dare you have multiple children?
Yeah.
Like you're in the business of supporting women to have children. Like not have children. Like
Well, that's
weird.
the thing. Like, sure, I don't plan on having 4 either, but here I am, and
Yeah.
I'm taking it in my stride, and I'm going to make it happen.
Yeah, it's
And
not really the time to be thinking about that sort of stuff, I don't think. Even in pregnancy, I don't think
yeah,
is
no,
appropriate
no,
because when a woman's pregnant, especially potentially with twins or having, like, you don't want to have another child when you're pregnant, but then
no,
as soon as the baby's born, you're like, oh, look how cute they are. And a year
yeah,
comes along and you're like, oh, I'll have another one.
that's right. Like, that's a decision to make. 3 years after, or however long after you've had that child,
Yeah,
do you want to have another one, or are you really happy and satisfied to say
100%.
no, we're done? You
Yeah,
cannot make that. It's not the right place to make that
no,
decision. So anyway, I said no. So she proceeded to do her thing. The section did go really well considering all of the circumstances. We're in a hospital we're not supposed to be at. I was awake, thankfully. The section was pretty smooth. The babies both needed some respiratory support. They weren't set up to have them both. They didn't have enough of the right equipment to actually give them both the right respiratory support. So we did need to call in to be transferred somewhere else. They may do with what they had there at the time, but it wasn't right. So they called the Royal Flying Doctors, or they called around to see if it could go to Mackay, Rockhampton, or if it was going to be a Brisbane job. But Mackay and Rockhampton both could only take one, not both at the same time. So, yeah, we ended up going to Brisbane. So the Royal Flying Doctors came. One of the babies had a right lung pneumothorax. So the doctor herself, while she's waiting for the flying doctors to come and prepare the kids, she had to drain air outside of the lung just through a syringe.
can you explain what that is? Because I've not heard that before. Can you share a bit about what that is?
To be honest, I'm trying to recall, but I thought a pneumothorax was a collapse in the lung, was a collapsed lung, or a leaking lung. And as far as I can remember, I'm pretty sure the lung was leaking air out of the lung, so they had to drain that because there's air where it's not supposed to be. I'm not 100% familiar with it too much. There was a lot going on at the time, so there were so many people around, and both the babies were split. So I kind of only just saw bits and pieces of what they were doing, but I remember her getting a very large syringe and needle, and she said, "Please don't look right now." And I know that she poked it in near his ribs, in his chest, and she drained out 65 mils of air, or something like that. I remember her saying, and that fixed things for the time being. Once the Royal Flying Doctors came, they did put a valve into the side of his chest, and it just drains the air as it's coming out. I guess it drains it out of his body instead of just accumulating inside the body where it's not meant to be. So yeah, he had this little drain. They'd sort of sliced like a little hole in him and put it in, and it stayed in while he was in the NICU for a couple of days. And then as it's leaking less and less air out, I guess the hole in his lung must have healed, closed up or whatever, and the lung was intubated, because he was actually intubated as well, whereas the other twin just had a bit of CPAP, nothing else. So yeah, they prepared the kids to take them to Brisbane by doing all of these things, and they said, okay, we're taking them to Brisbane. The issue is that you can't come. Mother can't come because you've had a section. So you cannot fly with us right now. There's nothing wrong with you. The babies are a priority because they've got issues. You don't. Your husband can come in the plane with the baby, but you can't. So obviously, here we go again. Like, there's always something, isn't there? I had that awesome VBAC. Yep, sure, I had the hemorrhage. It was what it was. But I got, I was separated from my baby for an hour, maybe two. Now I had this section. I was finally awake. I made peace with it being what it was going to be. I was just relieved to be able to be awake. And now you're going to take my baby away from me. Like, we're not just separated in the same hospital. You're taking them away. You telling me I can't come. So my husband obviously went. Well, he actually wanted to stay with me, and I said, no, you cannot stay here. You cannot send that baby away where there's no one that they, like, you have to go. And, he felt so guilty for leaving. But he did. He went. It was a very stormy night, actually. He said it was the scariest plane ride he's had, because they're in this tiny little plane. It's shaking and rattling so much through the storms, and they're trying to ditch the rain and stuff, and got these two little babies in their little NICU boxes. And they get to Brisbane, and I sort of got parked up in a room in the ward, not really where the main maternity section is, sort of just the end room to the ward. So I was really just parked up out of the road, and no one really come by at all. My other two kids were looked after by my husband's mum and dad and sister. So I'm just trying to think, did they call in? I think they called in late that afternoon, that night actually, sorry. They called in that night when my husband had gone and I was just by myself. They called in, they brought the other two kids by to come and see me, and then they ended up getting a motel room in town. And there was just so much rigmarole about how am I going to get to Brisbane? Like, I've had this section. They said to me, okay, no, don't stress, the flying doctors will come back for you. They'll come back and pick you up and take you to Brisbane. But we just don't know when that's going to be. Like, eventually they'll come, but we don't know how long. It could take a few days. I'm thinking, a few days? Well, can I just get out of here so I can pay for a plane ticket myself with Qantas and go to Brisbane? No, that's not going to work anyway, because you've had a section. They won't let you fly for 2 days. And I'm thinking, well, this is rigged. Like, what do? Do I just check out of here and, get someone to drive me in the car, or like, well, what am I supposed to do here? Like, I'm not getting any choices, and I want to be with my baby. Like, this is so wrong. And I said, oh, we'll try and see what we can work out. If we can get them coming here to, for someone else's emergency, maybe we can ask if he can, jump in on the way down to Brisbane. So that's sort of the plan. And it's just a waiting game. And once in a blue moon, someone will come by just to check on me. And you might ask the question, have you heard anything? No, haven't heard anything. And my kids came by the next day. And again, it's so nice that they're coming to be with me. But I don't feel like my babies aren't here. Like, I've got two of my kids, which I'm grateful for, but it's not right. Anyway, and it was the third. I had expressed a little bit of colostrum prior to them leaving. Not a lot, just a little bit. And so my husband's trying to keep me in the loop. They're getting set up in the NICU. They're on a sugar drip and stuff, bit of glucose. He tells them that I breastfeed all of our kids. Like he said, she will be breastfeeding. Here is some colostrum that we have, but you need to wait, like she needs to breastfeed. And they're holding off on giving the babies any milk or formula or anything because they're waiting on me, thinking I'm not far behind. So they're doing their best just to pump them up with a bit of glucose in the meantime. And it was, I think, the third day, someone else had chest pain issues, heart issues, and the flying doctor was finally coming, and they said, look, they're coming for someone else. If you think that you can sit upright in a plane seat, you can go. Like, we'll get you on that plane. And I said, absolutely, I'll be sitting up. I'm on the plane. Right or wrong, I don't care what's wrong with me. I will make it work, and we're going. So it was the most relieving, happiest news that I got, that I could finally go. So, yeah, day 3, I finally get there, and they get me into the ward in Brisbane at the Royal Women's Hospital. They set me up there, check me out, just do the basic check over post-section. Everything seems to be fine. And they said, okay, this is where the NICU is. My husband took me down there to the kids, and we couldn't touch them or like get them out or anything. So, yeah, they explained that one was intubated with the vent in, and we just had to leave him be. The other was on CPAP. We can just, stroke their little arms and legs and stuff, and just basically hang out next to their little NICU crib. So that was very different. Again, you've got have these awesome little babies, lucky enough to have 2 little twins, and they were beautiful. They were 3 kgs each at 36 weeks. So, they did well. They were good little, babies, but we can't touch them. So naturally, I'm expressing. So they let me check out of Brisbane pretty quickly. I think I only spent the one night there, and they said, yep, you're good to go. We were lucky enough to get a room at Ronald McDonald House, and it was sort of just a bit of a walk from the hospital. I was trying to pump. Prior to me going, I tried hand expressing whatever colostrum I could, so that as soon as I got there was some for the kids to give them. But I had a lot of trouble, actually, and I've fed both of my other children, breastfed them really well, but I could not get anything out. I was struggling. I could not express. And I think I was just that distraught that it just wasn't happening for me. Because as soon as I got there, I said to one of the midwives, "Can you go get the pump, please?" And she brought the pump to my room and the pump on, and straight away, things were starting to happen. Obviously, small amounts, but with every pump, it was just increasing. And I just kept on routinely pumping 2 to 3 hourly, and sucked up as much milk as I could for them, started dropping it off, and I said, "Oh, wow, got a lot of milk there. We haven't even used what you brought in last time." And so, yeah, like I did rack up a bit of milk for them, and they tube fed them. And my little boy that was just on CPAP, he was the first to be allowed out of his Mickey crib. So he was in there for about 3 days, 4 days, and they let him out, and I had a cuddle with him, and they said, "Would you like to give him a chance to breastfeed?" And I said, "Definitely." Breastfed, beautiful. It was just incredible. And I think it was the following day that the other twin got a chance to, they took all his tubes out, and his vent stopped fluttering, so no air was coming out anymore for a little while now. So they were happy enough to take that out, and he had a feed, and beautiful. Then we shifted to special care nursery, and they said, right, like, now that the babies are here, they're doing well, we'll leave the tubes in case we need to use them, but they're doing well enough that you can actively feed them now. Like, come and handle your child like you would at home. Feed them, change them, wash them, whatever you need to do at home. Do that. They were really nice. They actually gave me a room right there at the nursery and the special care. Like, they only had 2 rooms for people to stay at to access their babies, and I was very lucky and fortunate to get one of those rooms. So I could wake up every, 3 hours or whatever of night time and go and feed the boys, instead of having to walk from Ronald McDonald every 3 hours in the night to go and feed them, because I said it's not real safe. So that was, really incredible. We did about 8 days there, and the boys were thriving, feeding well, growing and all that. One had a bit of a jaundice. They were on the light a little bit, that fixed that up pretty quick. And they said, "Okay, you can go home." This is just days before Christmas. "You can go home, but because you don't have a car here with your car seat to drive away, you cannot just leave to go home. You have to be transferred back to Rockhampton, where your car is, because we had family members take a car there. You have to be transferred back to Rockhampton, and they can discharge you home." And we're like, "Oh, okay." Again, here we go. This whole transfer business is not for the faint-hearted, because it doesn't happen overnight. It took about 3 or 4 days to organise to get transferred back, because it's just on a backload for the plane. You're not priority. So we had to wait for someone to get sent to Brisbane with issues so that we can then catch the plane back. And it's nearing Christmas time, and our other kids are struggling because we've never been away from them, let alone for 8 days. So they're a hot mess, and it's Christmas, so we're trying to figure out, what are we going to do? Do we get the kids here for Christmas or not? Anyway, we got back to Rockhampton. they put us into special care nursery there. My husband actually flew home to come and get our car and the other kids and drive to Rockhampton to meet us there. So I went with the twins to the hospital, and I was actually really disappointed because when they came into special care at Rockhampton, they basically, and it's just their policy, but they made me feel like my kids were germy. They did these extensive swabs and tests and things to make sure that they didn't have bacteria or things. I forget now exactly what it was for, because I was just so mad and distraught at what was going on, how I was getting treated then. But I can't really recall what exactly they did. But I remember them saying, we need to do these tests as protocol. We need to make sure that these kids aren't bringing something else from a different hospital here. And I had two young nurses doing the special care. And me being a young parent myself, I thought that they would have been a bit nicer. But they were very rude. So for starters, I feel like they think my kids are carrying germs and diseases, and, you know, they're going to bring something to this hospital. Then secondly, they said, okay, they're sorted. We need to wait for the doctor to come and give orders on what to do here and stuff. And obviously you're still waiting for your husband to come. So they need to stay here. There's nowhere for you. Like, you can't be here. I said, okay, so do you have a Ronald McDonald house nearby because I'm breastfeeding them. I've spent 5 days exclusively breastfeeding them, you know, working on that. Is there any accommodation nearby to this hospital where I could stay? So in the night I can come and feed the kids until we get discharged. We had a Ronald McDonald house, but it's closed because it's Christmas time. So you might have to try and find a motel, and maybe we can get some taxi vouchers or something. And I thought, okay, wow, right. It just came from a place that was so good to me. Like, you know, here's your babies, here's a room, look after them, care for them. So your kids have to stay here, but you can't be here.
Can I ask you at this point, what is the reason that they're in special care? Because they were fine to go home, and now they're being put in special care again. So what were they in special care for?
There's no reason. They didn't actually need to be in special care, but we just couldn't go home until a doctor has formally discharged us to give us a tick of approval that we can go home. So
because of policy, because they've transferred from one hospital to another, and maybe the only way they can transfer using that service is by using, that's because they have to transport from hospital to hospital. The other option that could have been given, which would have been a nightmare, because isn't it 12-hour drive from Brisbane to is hiring a car, getting car seats and having to drive with newborn babies and pulling over every few hours when you've had a C-section and all that. So
so it's
really at the mercy, aren't you? And hospital policies are a nightmare. It's horrible. Yeah.
It's hard to work with because they all have different policies. So you're trying to wrap your head around what one says, and then the next one says something different.
So what are they doing to the babies in special care? So they've done all these checks. Do you think it had something to do, because it's 2021, isn't it? Do you think it's got something to do with COVID?
Oh, yeah, they checked them for COVID too. Yep.
Yes, they would have been freaking out around COVID.
They swabs down their nose, swabs around their bottoms, swabs in under the armpits and the belly buttons, and all sorts of just swabbing them all over their bodies. But it was, obviously a rough time with the whole COVID situation anyway.
They would have been freaking out, these people have been from Brisbane. Brisbane's where all the cases are, la, 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 la. They would have been freaking.
Probably, yeah. It was wild. Like, they made me feel like we were like disgusting, germy people.
Mm.
Funnily enough, the standard in the Brisbane hospital, the Brisbane Women's Hospital, the standard that we dealt with in the NICU was exceptional. Like, the nurses there and the women there that we dealt with, exceptional. The standard is so high, right? My husband and I, we just looked at each other and we're like, wow, like, look at this place. Like, but these people care. Like, well, it seems like, these people care. Like, they're onto it. Like, there is not a thing that goes unnoticed. Like, they just seemed like they were so professional in their role compared to our little regional rural hospitals. It seems a bit lapsy-daisy, whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, they are all understaffed, so, kudos to them. Like, whatever they can get in, whoever they can get in for staff, they just got to do what they can do. Like,
yeah.
But yeah, that's one thing that we picked up on so quickly, was how professional they run the hospital there, and the standards being so much higher. So I was surprised that they carried on so much, because maybe they don't know that, Anyway, so they finally did what they do, and then they left. They left them in their cribs, and they got me a chair to sit in, and they left. And I can hear the two over there in the back corner just having a chat to each other and having a confab about me and these two twins and stuff. And I was like, okay, I just want to get out of this joint. So we had to stay that one night, because by the time that we dealt with everything, there was no doctor coming by to do discharge. It had to be the next morning. So we had to wait that one night. And my husband was only getting to our home and getting our car and the kids. So he was only going to come the next morning as well. And they're trying to tell me, like, I'll have to find somewhere else, and make my way to the hospital overnight. And I said, okay, well, that's not going to work for me. I don't care about a bed or whatever. I'll be sitting here. I'll just sleep here in this chair next to my babies, so that I can feed them. Like, I don't need a bed. I don't need to sleep, whatever. I'm not leaving from them. This has been hell already. And I want to be with my kids. I don't trust you guys because of how you made me feel when I came into this hospital. I don't trust you to be with my kids without me. They're like, yeah, so we can just formula feed them, because we can just formula feed them. Oh, they have nasal tubes, so we can just chop them up. I said, no, I've worked so hard. It's been 5 days that I have now worked so hard. I'm tirelessly feeding these kids. I get 1 hour of sleep between their feed schedules. I didn't do all of that for nothing, for you to formula feed my baby. Not that I have an issue with formula, but this is what I chose that I'm doing. I'm giving up what I have to do this, what I want to. And they're just so oblivious. I don't get it. Like, oh, this stupid lady, like, she doesn't know what, she's on about. And they're like, oh, well, that's your problem. So later on, shift changes, and 2 older midwives were on. And during this shift change, I hear them talking about me. The young girls say, yeah, there's the mother with the twins. And, she's just going to stay with them tonight, because she thinks she needs to feed them overnight. But, she can't go stay somewhere else because it will take too long to come to and from the hospital. So, and they were like, oh, that's pretty wild. I heard her say, is there no beds? Do we have no beds available or something? She's like, oh, we have beds, but we're keeping them for the people who actually need them that might come in tonight. And I went out to make a phone call to my husband, and I walked past about 6 empty beds, 6 or 7 empty beds just in the ward as I walked past. And I thought to myself, this is odd because there are so many free beds here. Like, why can't I just occupy one for one night? But whatever. And, yeah, so they talked about that. shift changes and they left. And the new midwife says to me, don't worry, I'm going to get you set up with a bed tonight. And you know what, let me go and talk to a doctor because your boys don't need to be in here. Like, there's no need for them to be in the nursery at all. Like, you're feeding them, you're doing what every other mother does on the ward. Just give me a moment. So she goes away, she comes back and she says, get your bags, get your stuff, bring your kids, put them in the trolley together, let's go. So
Oh my
she takes
goodness.
me.
Just like one sane, normal person comes with some sanity and like common sense.
Yeah. She was incredible.
Ridiculous.
She comes, she brings in a trolley, she says, take your kids to here's your room. I do need to just take the Robs once overnight, but I'll just come to you. And in the morning when you wake up, just call in here. We'll do one more set of Robs. The doctor will do the discharge and you're off. And I said, wow, okay. So I could have cried. I was so grateful for her because something, you know, I felt so untrustworthy when I got there. I felt so hurt. You know, I have been through hell and back, and now you think I'm this germy, disgusting person with my, you know, with these brand new babies. And there's nothing wrong with them. They're perfect. Like, to shift change with another person saying, do what every other mother does here. Like, here's a bed, look after yourself, look after your babies. You know, let's get you out of here. You don't need to be here.
Thank you for tuning in to the VBAC Homebirth Stories podcast. I hope today's story inspired you to trust your body, own your choices, and embrace the power of birth. If you loved this episode, please subscribe, leave a review, and share it with another mama who needs to hear this. Do you have a VBAC Homebirth story to share? I'd love to hear from you. Connect with me on ashleywinning.com or on Insta at ashleylwinning. Until next time, take care and trust your body.